I feel like most of the creator coaches out there focus so much on the content side of UGC, but I always tell my students it's 50% business, it's 50% content. You could be the best content creator in the world, but if you don't understand how to run your business is going to fail. And same thing when it comes to being a business owner, content creator. You could be a great business owner, but if your content sucks, you're not going to get hired. So you have to have both pieces.
Welcome to the Creator Money Show, where I teach creators how to build profitable businesses and lasting wealth. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm so excited today for my podcast with Anna Mongiello. Anna, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Abby. I'm excited to talk to you.
I know, I'm so excited for our chat. I actually found Anna at the UGC Creator event in Park City, Utah. But Anna gave an amazing talk about kind of expanding your business, outsourcing your business, making you more productive. And then honestly, I've just kind of been following her on Instagram ever since. We've been messaging each other back and forth. Anna, I don't know if you remember this, but you were telling me that you were editing your videos with CapCut on your phone and that you've been doing this for 3 years. And I was like, what? I did it for one day and was like going to die. So I love, Anna, that like
I'm still grinding. I'm still doing it, girl.
I'm like amazed. Like, honestly, I'm so impressed because your content is so fire. I love it so much. And you literally are doing it from your phone. Like, that shows people it's really doable.
It is. And thank you. I appreciate it. I just honestly, like, my whole thing is that like sitting by a desktop requires like you to have your laptop with you all the time. And I'm like, driving to pick up my sons from school. I'm waiting at the bus stop. I'm like, doing all this stuff. And sometimes I just don't have the patience to like sit down and like edit my video. So I just like grab at my phone, start editing with my little stylus pen, and then call it a day. Because with the fingers, it's really hard, especially
that makes me feel better that you at least have a little stylus pen to make it easier. Because there was this one day where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this quick edit really fast. I was like, channel Anna, do it on the phone. I was struggling.
You're like,
so
no,
I'm impressed.
No way.
I'm like, I like the desktop. We're carrying the laptop everywhere, girlfriend. Okay, so I love kind of starting my shows with obviously learning a little bit about you, but I want to ask the question in the way of like, what was the reason you started? We could say content creation, but I'm thinking for you, it's probably more specifically UGC, but correct me on that. Like, what was the reason that made you start doing this?
Honestly, I liked getting free stuff. If I'm 100% honest, like there was never a time in my like, life where I was like, I want to be a content creator. I want to be a UGC or I want to be an influencer. Like that is not what happened at all. Like I was a high school teacher, feeling like a villain, living for the summers, like living the dream, so to speak. But I also always had like side hustles. And one of my side hustles that I've had since like 2013, I believe, was I had an e-commerce product-based jewelry brand that I ran. And I was, creating these jewelry pieces for girls that were getting married on the beach. And they wanted to have something to wear on their feet because they didn't want to wear shoes. So I was like making these like foot jewelry thingies and I would sell them on Etsy. Cool. Yeah. And then that business kind of just picked up. Right. And so I was on maternity leave back in 2021, hiring content creators for my jewelry company. And I was on the brand side. I was using the apps as a brand to connect with these girls because I needed content. And I was like the worst person when it comes to blogging or creating content or pictures or anything like that. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, what? No. So I would hire these girls and I got these videos back and I was like, I want to know like how this works on the creator side because I'm curious to see what that actually looks like. Because as a business owner, like I need to understand all of the moving pieces from all angles. So I'm like, I'm gonna do apps and sign up and see like what the process is.
What did you think about making the videos, like creating the content? Did you find like, hey, I actually kind of like this and I feel good at it? Or were you like, I'm crappy at it.
I'm so bad at it
because I'm gonna keep getting free stuff.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. These people are hiring me. It's like that's crazy, but okay. Like we're just gonna run with it. I never like was like, oh, like I really like doing this. Not until later on where I was like, oh, like this could potentially like have me leave my teaching job. But it didn't.
Okay, still teaching, still doing jewelry. being a new mom,
Yep.
like literally doing it all.
All of the
Women
above.
amaze me. Like
All of
women
the above.
amaze me.
I know. It was well, you know what? It got to the point too when I did go back to school and I did start teaching, and that's when like UGC really picked up for me. And that's because my content got better. Obviously the first like 3, 6 months you're doing it, you're making these horrible videos, and then like, you have to
We
go
all
through
got to
this
start
learning curve.
somewhere. Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Yep. Yeah, and then after I got onto Fiverr, I also quickly realized that like, well, hey, Fiverr is just one platform. But what would happen if I put myself in places where brands are actively looking for content creators? And at that point, like didn't even have social media accounts. We're talking about like 2023, middle of 2023, 2024. That's when I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get on like TikTok. Maybe I should get on Instagram. Like, what am I doing still not being on social media? you know but I was getting so much work at that point that I was like, I really don't need to be on social media because all of these brands were coming to me. And I think that that's what really was enticing for me to stick around the platforms for a while, is because I didn't have to pitch. Because given my workload, I just knew that I didn't have that in me. I just didn't have the time to sit there and pitch. And so outbound and reaching out to brands has never been my strategy from the beginning. And I was able to build the business successfully just by being an inbounds only creator. And then once I got
Interesting.
on social media, that's when it was really like, oh my gosh, like, yes. But at the same time, I feel like, at that point, I kind of not missed the boat, but like a lot of the girls that started at the same time as I did, they were already huge on social media talking about UGC, even though they started around the same time I did. I felt like I was like, one of the OG UGC creators out there in the space, but because I was on social media, nobody knew anything
Who you
about
were.
my
Yeah.
brand. Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So I wish that I would have gotten on social media to start building my personal brand earlier on. That's something that I do feel like I should have done earlier than I did.
Okay, that's good to know. So
Yeah.
tell me what like tell me why, I guess, why you feel like that. What does building your own brand at the same time of building your UGC brand, what, and maybe this is a naive question, but for those that like don't know or don't understand, like what is the, I thought people loved UGC because they don't have to worry about their own brand, right?
Mhm.
So tell me what creating your own brand, like what is that doing for you, and why would you say you wish you'd started earlier?
Well, I think that it's really come down to like your ultimate long-term goals.
Yeah.
I think that if a creator really wants to, excuse me, attract brands and really wants to utilize social media, in order to do that, they kind of do have to get on social media and put themselves out there. But also, excuse me, personal branding and getting on social media, also kind of acts like a creator's playground. It's a really great place to learn how to make content because, to be honest with you, like creating talking head content, I didn't get really confident doing that because I worked with a ton of clients. I got really comfortable doing that because I would turn on my camera, press record, and yap away on TikTok again and again and again and again. And because I was doing that, that allowed me to experiment with different hooks, with different formats. I got real time feedback on the content that resonated, on the content that attracted brands, on the content that did not attract brands. Because, of course, just like everybody else, I would sometimes post these random videos and basically throw UGC spaghetti at the wall to see what's stuck, and nothing stuck. Right? Because that's what we all do. But I
Yeah.
think that personal branding is important because if you're somebody who wants to attract brands, if you want to put yourself in places where brands are constantly lurking, looking for creators, that's just going to make your job easier. And once those
Yeah.
brands are in your inbox, you have more of the negotiation power to negotiate higher paying brand deals. Because if you're on the apps, your income is capped to what
Mm.
that app offers. Or, for example, on Upwork and Fiverr, like you have to pay out the platforms a certain percentage of your paycheck. So you have to accommodate for the fact that you're going to pay out the platform, right? But if a
Yeah.
brand flies into your DMs or in your inbox, then you have more of that negotiation power where you don't have to pay anybody out. You just negotiate your rate and call it a day.
You didn't go the direction I thought you were going to go, which I think your first point was like you have this playground where you can learn and you can grow and you can develop this other side to you. rather than just the UGC side. And I think that's so great to think about it, right? Of being a more well-rounded creator, being able to do lots of different things and getting to try different angles, hooks, like you said, because honestly, the better videos you can deliver to brands, right, the more money you're ultimately going to make, right? And so getting to try and test all of these things, like even if you don't have a ton of people following you, it just helps you get used to building those types of skills. So I didn't think you were going to say that. And I love that point.
I also feel like, personal branding, like people just overcomplicate it so much. And I know that I used to do that too, because I used to think that like, oh my gosh, I need to do what everybody else is doing. And I need to pick a niche and I need to post these beautiful skincare videos and all this stuff. When in reality, like us as human beings, like we're so multi-dimensional human beings. Like we don't just have one interest. You don't have to
Yeah.
pigeonhole yourself into just like the beauty and the healthcare and the wellness like niches. Like I'm a no niche creator. I've always been a no niche creator. And so that allows me to post whatever the heck I want, whenever the heck I want, which is great because it attracts all kinds of brands, right? And so a lot of creators, especially if they're newer, they get caught up in this whole like, well, I need to declare niche. And I always ask them like, why? Why? Why do you have
Because
to
everyone's
declare
telling
niche?
them, everyone,
Don't do
right?
it.
Niches make riches, right? That's what
You're
people
going to
say.
pigeonhole
So,
yourself, and then eventually that niche is going to get boring. And then what? What happens when when you're bored of that one niche? I feel like
yeah.
unless your ultimate goal, like long term, is to become an influencer and you really want to be known for that specific niche, then you probably shouldn't pigeonhole yourself into just one niche and instead treat your social media as like the little playground. Don't take it so seriously, experiment, and then you're going to get that feedback that you need, get better at
Yeah.
content too.
No, I love that. I love that. So you mentioned to me just in our DMs that you kind of understand the business side of being a creator. So talk to me about that. How have you learned what you've learned about running the business? Obviously, at some point, you decided to quit teaching and
Yep.
do this full time, right? We
Yep.
kind of maybe jumped over that, but I'm going to fast forward the story there. Yeah. How did you learn about that? And then, like, let's pivot into like, what are the things you have done to help run your business and like hopefully, maybe make it not so overwhelming?
Yeah, so I think a lot of my experience came from being an entrepreneur from early 2000,
Day
whatever,
one.
10s, 11s, 13s. So when I first started my product-based business, my Bear Sandals jewelry company, I had to basically learn everything when it came to running a business online from scratch. Like I didn't have
Okay.
a team. I was literally
Yep.
just creating jewelry in my spare bedroom. And then eventually, I put up some designs on Etsy. They started to sell. Then all of a sudden I had to create a website. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know nothing about website creating. Let me learn how to do that. Then I had to create, and learn SEO so that way my website ranks. Then I had to learn about that. Then I had to learn about customer service and like dealing with conflict resolutions, like and all of that stuff. But the problem with having a product-based business and what a lot of people don't realize is that if you don't have like a really solid structure from the beginning, it's not scalable. And that's what I found myself facing with my jewelry company, where I have like 100 designs and 100 SKUs. And we still have this business, by the way. Now my husband deals with all of this stuff. Like we still have everything in our
I
house
love it.
downstairs, right? I just don't do it because I can't. There's just
Yeah.
too much. But the problem with product-based business, when you have 100 SKUs of a specific jewelry piece or whatever, how are you going to scale it if you're doing everything yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so that background in running a business and hiring creators myself, like that taught me the foundations that I kind of carried over into UGC. So when I knew that this had the potential to become my full-time job, I was like, this needs to be built from the beginning in
Mm.
a way where it's going to allow me to outsource, where it's going to allow me to streamline the processes later on when I'm ready. Like I'm not ready to do that yet, but the foundations need to be there. So that way, when I need to have that kind of system available, I don't have to go back to square one and
Yes.
completely rebuild my entire system because I
Yes.
had to do that with my jewelry company. And I was like, this is not scalable. Like that's it. That's it.
I'm literally like so happy right now because I think that's one of the concepts that I'm trying to help creators understand and learn, right? Is that it almost makes more sense to start with a bigger foundation and like really getting that dialed in early on when you have the time to spend to do
Exactly.
it, right? And when
Exactly.
you're not complex, because as you know, like this creator business takes off overnight and all of a sudden you don't have time to put the systems and the foundations in place. And yeah, maybe it's I feel like with money and business, it's always like, nah, I can put it off later. I
Mhm.
can put it off, right? Like there's nothing there nagging you. I mean, besides taxes, right? I guess every April kind of nags you, right? But you can also just be like, I don't know, I'll just go through hell for a month and then I'll forget about it again until next April, and who cares, right? Like tomorrow Abby will be mad at today Abby, but whatever, right? So I love hearing you say that, like you did almost learn that the hard way. And so starting business number 2, you're like, I'm not going to make that same mistake. Let's like put those foundations in place.
Yeah, and I like that's something that I teach my students all the time from the beginning is like we don't focus on content. I feel like most of the creator coaches out there focus so much on the content side of UGC, but I always tell my students
Yeah.
it's 50% business, it's 50% content. You could be the best content creator in the world, but if you don't understand how to run your business is going to fail. And same thing when it comes to being a business owner, content creator. You could be a great business owner, but if your content sucks, you're not going to get hired. So you have to have both pieces. And that's why we focus so much on understanding like the business side of the UGC content creation business first.
Yes.
We do
I
like
love
the
that.
bank accounts, the LLCs, like the all of that stuff, like understanding contracts and how everything works like in a linear progression, so to speak, where it's like this is, this is how you pitch, this is how you get brand deals, this is how you close contracts, like all of this stuff first, and then this is how you make content. Because again, that's the foundations that you need to understand before you get into it, so that way you know what you're getting yourself into it. Because if you
Yeah.
go from step 1 to 20 without building the foundations, eventually you're going to look at your business and be like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I've created a monster where I either have to scale down and burn out, you know what I mean? Or I can't do this
Yep.
anymore. Like this is not
Totally.
sustainable. So
Totally. You said that's what we do, and that's where we start. For those that don't know, what is that? What do you mean by we?
I have a plethora of digital products and resources and courses for basically anybody in any stage of their business. My brand A Plus Socials, basically I have a program called the 2 Hour Creator. And this is your beginner getting started with UGC program that walks you through how to start UGC in 30 days and 2 hours a day. And it's meant for busy parents
Love that.
and busy
Yeah.
individuals, 35 plus year olds who have maybe a 9 to 5, who maybe have kids, who maybe have responsibilities, all of the above. And they can only dedicate 2 hours a day to learn how to create content. But they don't want to do it in a way where it's like, oh, I'm just going to take products around my house and like tap my nails on the box. They want to learn how to make actual content and actual business in as little time as possible. That's actually going to bring them, results in the long term. Yeah. So the
So
two
yeah.
hour
So
creators a beginner course. Yeah.
okay. No, I that's what I love about you is like it seems like all your content is really helping those beginners get started. I checked out that website just last week and there was so much content there, so many helpful courses and
Uh-huh.
things to really break it down for you and help. So I just love that. So jumping in maybe a little deeper, now we know you have a business and you have good foundations. Like, can we talk about the money? Like what money potential is out there? Like, do you mind sharing kind of where you're at money and like the different kind of revenue streams that you have? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think
Okay,
that people need to be really realistic about what is expected in UGC. Here's the
totally.
thing. I feel like every time you go on social media, it's really easy to get discouraged by looking at other people's content because, right, today I closed a $900 brand deal for washing my hair. Cool. Like, yeah, that's part of the part of the thing that you're gonna have to do, but that's not the full picture, right? And so I think that every single time people go on socials to find out about the actual income potential with UGC, they have to understand that people are only putting out the best, biggest deals out there. They're not
Yeah,
putting out the full picture of how long they've been doing content creation for, right?
totally. Yeah,
And
yeah.
also like their experience in sales or marketing or what's their background before they got into UGC of their content creation, right? So
Yep.
it's something that you
Well,
have to keep in mind, you
and
know?
what I think also I've learned, the more creators I've talked to, the more I've learned like there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes of creating that video. You've actually done
Mhm.
that a little bit too recently. I loved one of those videos you created recently. Like, here's literally all the steps that have happened. I talked to this one creator. She was doing a brand for like Levi, which was so cool, right? Like Levi, really
Mhm.
well known brand. But she's like, Abby, I had to buy 6 different types of Levi pants to find the ones that fit me the best. And then it's like trying them all on and returning them and then shooting, but then they want me outside, but then the weather's never good. And like there's literally so many steps that go on. And I'm like, if people understood that, like you would understand more as to like, I think why the money is here because there is a lot demanding. But
There
most
is.
people just see the video polish that's 30 seconds
Right.
and they think, well, I could do that, right? But it's
Right.
so much more than that. So I'm
Exactly.
so glad you went there. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the income that you can earn, it really depends on also how much time you have available to do this, like realistically.
Yeah.
People with a couple of hours a day, they can earn a couple of $100 a month easily, right? People that do it full time can get into the thousands. But it's important to keep like a realistic expectations when you first get into it, especially if you've never done this before. Like I've never done this before. So the way that I always tell my students how this works is that like in your first month, any money is good money, like any money. If you make
Yeah.
$150, great. Like you're on the right
Woo,
track,
be
right?
happy. Yeah.
Exactly. And then like any subsequential income for the following month, double that. So like let's say you made 150 in your first month, $300 is pretty expected for the second month, right? And then like $600 and then $1,200 and then it just goes on and on and on. Yeah, that's usually how I look at it, and I've had months where I've made $25 a month, which was my first month with UGC, and I've had months where I've made past, 5 figures, which was lovely. With UGC, you also have to keep in mind that every month is different. Sometimes you'll have a slow month and you won't make as much as you hoped for, right? And then
Yeah.
the next month you'll have all of these payments that will come in because again, something else to keep in mind is net 30 and net 60. So just because you did a
Dang, net
prank
30 and net 60. So annoying.
it's like, great. I just closed $5,000 worth of collabs. Great. I'm not going to get that money for another 2 months.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something else that you don't hear on social media about UGC as well. So it's like, it fluctuates between month to month. And that's something that people need to also understand when they're getting into this field is that if you're somebody who like prefers stability and prefers like just stable monthly income every single month, like this is going to be very stressful for you. Just be ready. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So yeah.
What have you done? Like, what have you done then to help with those income fluctuations, and how have you handled that?
Honestly, I'm a firm believer of not having all of your eggs in just UGC baskets. Or just having like all of your eggs in one platform, for example, like Fiverr or Upwork. So I try to differentiate my income as much as possible, as much as possible. So I try to have many different income streams so that way if one of them dries up a little bit, then I don't have to like panic over the fact that I'm not going to meet my mortgage this month.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
just double down on something else. So for me personally, because I've been a teacher for 10 years, like I found myself that once I quit my full-time tenure teaching job and I got into UGC, I missed that connection. I missed talking to people. I missed seeing my students go from like not knowing how to do a skill or not understanding how to do something to like seeing them progress and be able to do it, right? So
Yeah.
naturally, once I got really good at UGC, I was like, I want to differentiate my income stream. And I tried TikTok Shop and I just felt like a phony selling random products I really didn't care about. I was like, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I know people are selling and making money with TikTok Shop and like all that, but I'm like, I can't. It doesn't feel natural to me. you
Well,
know?
and I think that's an important point I've heard over and over again is the times you do things that feel authentic to you or you learn what doesn't feel authentic and you shy away or go away from that, like that's when things start to really work is when people do
Mhm.
authentic things that feel right to them, not just the thing that's going to make them money.
Exactly. And because the way that you show up when you're doing that thing that actually resonates with you and like that speaks to you, that comes off through your content. That comes off the way that
Yeah,
you show up authentically on the internet, right?
totally.
And people
Totally.
can see through the BS. People can spot a phony when you're making content about, a product on TikTok shop that really, that's nothing, right? So I kind of pivoted into like the digital space and the coaching aspect because I missed it. I miss connecting with people. So I was like, this is a perfect gateway because I not only know how to do UGC now, but I also have like the teaching background and then also the business background. So now I can just merge all of those things and really teach creators how to do this the right way with the foundations, with the business side in mind, right? So I started to pivot into that. Then I got into affiliate sales, but not in a TikTok shop affiliate sales spectrum. Um, I got into affiliate sales with talking about platforms that I use in my business that I genuinely love. And
Mm,
obviously, when I talk about these platforms that I genuinely love, right, it's going to come off authentic to my audience, right? But it also, if they use my affiliate link to sign up for those platforms, I'll earn a small commission. So that's another income stream that I have as well. You know, I've got into creative strategy and worked as that for a few of my clients. To be honest with you, I'm not a creative strategist. I don't like the behind the scenes. I like the creative side of it. So
yeah.
while I did do that for some time, I also realized that that creative strategy is just not really my cup of tea. To be honest with you, I don't
Yeah.
enjoy necessarily the behind the scenes work as much. But a lot of my income also comes from retainer clients. And that's something that I also teach my students is how to build relationships. So that way, instead of hunting for clients every single month and like burn yourself out in the process, why do that when you can build a really solid relationship with one company who's just going to continue hiring you again and again and again every
How
single month?
many do you have like a certain number of brands that you try to have as retainer clients, or
It's kind of
do
it
you approach it
fluctuates.
like
Right now,
that?
I have
Okay.
3 retainers, who are
Okay.
consistent, and they basically meet my entire income goal for the month, which I'm very happy
Cool.
about. Yeah, and then
So
everything else
nice.
is left
Again,
over.
that makes it, yeah. So then
Yeah.
everything else is fluff and excess on the top and what you have time for in the month, depending on, being a mom, like life gets busy, right? Kids
Yep,
get sick, right?
that's
So, okay, I
exactly it.
love that. I love
So
that
what I would
strategy.
recommend for everybody that's kind of getting started with this is to know your monthly like a income that you need to meet.
Spend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
How
Like if
much
you
money
need
do you need to live off every month or how
exactly.
much to
Yep.
make? Yeah.
So, and that accounts for everything, like your mortgage, your food, like your daycare, like your living expenses, you're going out to eat. Like have a number in mind, right? Like sometimes for some people it's 5K, for some people it's 7K, for people it's 10K, whatever your number is, there's no right or wrong answer, but just have that number so that way you know like what you're going and what your goal is, because if you don't, it's like basically trying to hit a bullseye in the dark while being blindfolded. It's like you don't have a plan to get from point A to point B. You have to know what that point B is, because otherwise how are you gonna get there?
Totally. And if I may add to that, love that point. So valid. If your goal is, let's just say 10K a month that you need to make, um, in your what you're bringing in as a creator, it can't then also be 10K because you have to pay taxes, there's
Mhm.
operating expenses, right? There's other things on top. So revenue or income coming in the door isn't profit what you make when it like leaves out the door, right? So let's
That's
say
such a
it's
good point.
10,000. Yeah, so let's say it is 10,000 you probably want to aim more for like 15,000 that you're making each month, because then at the end, after everything else is netted out, you'll actually make the 10, and the 10 is what you really need to live off of. So that's important to like, you don't want to perfectly align those. I have this $8,000 tax bill that I didn't know and anticipate. That
Yeah.
is stressful, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're oh,
I learned that the
you're
hard
coming into
way.
oh yeah, like you know.
I know, girl,
let's
I know.
let's hear that quick story. Do you mind sharing?
Not at all. So actually 2 quick stories. When I first started my, product-based business back in 2013, I was not prepared for my tax bill that hit me. Basically, all of the income or all of the money that I had left over after I operated my business the first year, of my jewelry company, I had to pay all of that back in taxes.
To taxes.
All of it.
Yeah.
Like, we're
I've heard
talking
so many stories like this. It's
yeah.
so sad.
It was like $20,000 in tax bill, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what? I just spent all of this time." And to me, it wasn't like even the money, it was like the time that I spent building this thing up from the ground, I had to give away in taxes. Are you joking? I had no idea anything about how to run a business, period. Like, that was my first business adventure, and I had no idea what I was doing. With UGC too, the same thing. I had no idea how to, like, for example, deduct home office
Yeah.
expenses, right? I
Yeah.
had no idea that there's certain deductions that you could write off, right? Or for the fact that I needed to pay estimated taxes,
Yep.
so I
Yep.
didn't pay estimated taxes. And then my first year of business, I got hit with a 15K tax bill and I was like,
And then
like,
fees and penalties on top of that because you didn't pay
yes.
quarterly taxes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, I basically my first year of business depleted my entire emergency fund that I had saved up, and I was like, "Okay, I have to do something different, like, in the future because this is not sustainable." So, of course, I restructured
Back to
everything.
setting up the foundations that we talked about, right? When you have
Exactly.
those foundations set up, then you're
Exactly.
not surprised by the tax bill because you were
Exactly.
anticipating it.
Yep.
So I love that. So, what is one of the biggest you feel like financial mistakes creators make? I would say at any stage. It doesn't even have to be starting out.
I think that they're not thinking about this long term. I think this is something also that you mentioned already too. They look at their like their income coming in, but they don't deduct the expenses. So they think that they're making 10K a month, but in reality, after all is said and done, they're making like seven, more or less. But they're not planning for the future. And they're not making their money work for them. Like, for example, this is something that I didn't do my first couple of years in business because, like I said, I wasn't really serious about UGC, but I should have been. Utilizing things like high yield savings account. Like I had a bunch of money just sitting in my regular checking, and I'm like, what? Like, why? Like, this is so stupid. I could just have my money work for me while I sleep
Yes.
instead of it just sitting there doing nothing, right? So you can have things set up in place that will help you to generate more income, right?
Love
Even
that.
things like using a high yield savings account, right?
Right. Which is so
I
simple and easy to set up, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think that creators don't think about things like retirement, health insurance, and what's going to happen when they need to pay taxes. So a lot of people get excited by, the fact that they closed let's say a $500 brand deal. That's great. But you also have to think about, well, how am I going to pay for my health insurance out of that 500? Well, how much money do I need to put away for retirement? If I'm even putting away money for retirement, like what does that even look like? Because it's so easy to get caught up with like, well, I got this brand deal and this brand deal and this brand deal. And of course, you want to upgrade your equipment and you want to go on vacation. And like, it's very easy to get caught up in that whole like
Well,
aesthetics.
spending the money is fun, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
of
And like
course.
you want to look like you're the part, right?
Of course. But at the same time, like thinking about the future is really, really important. Really, really important. And so, if you are working for yourself, you have to account for the fact that you're going to have to pay self-employment tax and, you have to save for retirement at some point. So I know it's not sexy, but we have to talk about it.
But that's like, honestly, I think that's one hill that I will like die on is finances aren't sexy. I think and they don't have to be complicated. I think oftentimes boring and stable is what works. The thing that you can do over and over again and repeat over and over again is how you become wealthy, right?
Mhm.
Most billionaires out there, I would argue, or even those quiet millionaires, right? They didn't make money by being crazy and doing like lavish things. They just followed a very consistent, boring process again and again and again. And that's like exactly what I teach my clients is like, what is that right process for you given your goals, right? And like and then how do we take and move that forward and make for sure it aligns? Because as you said, every creator is different. Everyone's goals are different. Why they're getting into this, and just making for sure that that's aligned. I love the word intention, right? Being intentional about this money that you're making and making for sure it's doing the things that you want it to do, whatever that may be.
Exactly. And I think that it's
Yeah.
also important to take a look at your lifestyle too. And this will vary from creator to creator. Creators that are single, that are a little bit younger, perhaps creators without kids, their spending habits are a little bit different than like creators with families and stuff.
Yeah.
Creators that are a
Yeah.
little bit older, we have like a certain level of responsibilities that we have to meet every single month. And I think it's important to have and know what those responsibilities are. And of course, know what your minimum income needs to be per month. So that
Totally.
way you can meet those responsibilities and yet you still have enough left over to account for all of those other necessities and then also to have that fun money that you can spend and allow yourself to enjoy your
Yeah.
life and spend it
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's like finding the balance to be able to hit all of those because life is about living too. Anna
Yeah,
and I are not saying not to have fun with your money,
of
right?
course.
It's you got to have some of that too, or you're not going to last. Like it's not gonna, you won't keep doing it. So I love this. All right. So as we wrap things up, Anna, how can people find you if they love what you had to say? Where can they go to check out, your content and who you are?
Sure. You guys can check me out on A Plus Socials on social media. You can visit my website, check out my resources at aplussocials.com. I'm A Plus Socials everywhere.
I love it. You got the great tagline that you can just have the same across the board. We all need that, right?
So, and yeah, I was UGC with Anna for like the longest time, but then I pigeonholed myself into just being UGC, and I was like, what did I do? No, don't put UGC in your business name. Yeah, I was one of those. And then I had to like start fresh because I was like, oh my gosh, I got into script writing and then I got into like, like affiliate marketing. I'm like, I don't want to just pigeonhole myself into just UGC. So I had to scratch everything and start A plus socials. So that's another story too. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
my big takeaway from today, like, thank you for our conversation. It's been so fun. It's been so great. But I think my biggest takeaway from you is just you've tried things, you've pivoted, and along the way, you've learned a lot about yourself. I think I especially thought in my 20s that like I had to decide and I had to have it all figured out and that was going to be the path forever. And now that I'm like close to my 40s, I'm realizing like that was dumb. Like I wish I wouldn't have thought that. And I wish I would have been okay with, like you said, like just playing and just like figuring it out. And I'm learning and discovering myself and what I like. And like that's one thing I feel like you've really emulated is all these different things that you've tried. And it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change. It's okay to change your handles like down the line, right? Like it doesn't have to be the thing forever. So I love that. So any final words you want to leave our guests with?
Yeah, I think if you guys are on the fence, if you are thinking that it's too late, the market is saturated, that could not be further from the truth. If I can get jobs with my horrible videos in the beginning, like so can you. If somebody with no experience can start and like build this into like a sustainable, successful business, you can too. It's just the first step is always the hardest. So just take that first step and the momentum will follow. So
Love it. Such great words. Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And we will catch you all on the next one.
thank you, Abby.
Thanks for watching. If you're a creator trying to figure out the money side of your business, make sure you subscribe. And let me know in the comments what topic you want me to cover next. Catch you on the next one.